over the next couple of years, I accept that over the medium to long term, everything we're talking about is a lot of the technologies and the companies are incredibly exciting. But over the next 4 or 5 years, are there any things that worry you? What's keeping you up at night? What are the risks and the threats here?
Our base case scenario is we expect geopolitical uncertainties to continue. Of course, this is a very big topic, and we have, over the last 18 months, we have already experienced 2 incidents, one in Europe and one in the Middle East. And hence, it does cause a lot of volatility in the market that make people concerned about. They might want to hold more cash on the back of that rather than invest into the market. But what we have seen, at least over the last 12 months or so since the summer last year, is if you ended up investing into high quality businesses or companies that can do well or not getting impacted directly, you can still make money on the back of that. So then to go back to your question, what might be the concern? Of course, that's this. The big elephant in the room is whether something is going to happen in the Asia-Pacific region. If it does happen, of course, it's going to be much more significant than what we have seen in Ukraine or in the Middle East. Okay, whether it's going to happen, how imminent it's going to happen, how it's going to play out, we don't know. But that is something that would be on the back of our mind, that if it does happen, then maybe we want to be prepared for that.
How do you prepare for that?
You can't I mean, ultimately, it depends on the magnitude of the event, right? Because there's many different scenarios how that could happen. Like it could be a peace. I mean, if you're talking about Asia-Pac, then we're talking about Taiwan and China. It could be a peaceful unification. I mean, all subjected to how this election is going to play out. If that's not the case, then is China serious about taking back Taiwan by force? Like how significant that is, what is the time frame? Because if you ask me personally, if that incident happened today, it would be quite disastrous. I think I would imagine the Chinese official are sensible on this. They might take their time to play this out. And over time, if you really play this out over a long period of time, that it might be a non-event because maybe people want to see this to happen. We don't know that. So it's just one of those things like you need to be cautious about. And hence, when we look at our investment in the fund, that we have very little exposure to China.
Right.
Whether it's directly, we don't have any direct investment in Chinese company. And on an underlying exposure and market basis, that we don't have a lot of exposure to China. I think that's something that we are very cautious about, that we are still very centric in the G7 developed market, but ultimately it would impact the world. So we're not pretending that if it happened, like nothing is going to happen here, like things would happen.
But your base case remains that regardless of what happens anywhere, solid, high quality, reasonably priced companies will do well for us over a 5-year period.
Yes, and also it's important that people need to remember every company would go through cycles. Like the regime is very challenging. It will remain challenging in the foreseeable future. What you would want to avoid when you make an investment is the company that you invest into could disappear on the back of those uncertainty. So let's say if this scenario plays out in Asia Pac, and certain company that are overly reliant either in terms of how they make money or the business model that is very dependent on that relationship could just disappear. And if the company disappears, then you cannot recover on the back of that scenario. But if your company are very well positioned or being net cash on the balance sheet, which is important, that you would go through the cycle, but then you survive. You survive the cycle, then you come back stronger. And I think that's very important to remember, that your company would be able to sit through the cycle, which we call them the transcendent companies that could do okay on the back of.
Okay.